my drumstick.
It's okay.
Yeah, if you want to see Eddie's light up drumsticks, you'll have to come to a tall granite big band dance night at Pittman's.
The light up drumsticks are a beautiful thing to behold.
They are.
You just never know where they're going to go.
All right, as long as
This is just one page, is it?
yes.
Never much more moonlit skies. I never look back at fireflies. But now that the stars are in your eyes, I'm beginning to see the light. I never went in for afterglow, for candlelight or for mistletoe. But now when you turn the lamp down low, I'm beginning to see the light. Used to ramble through the park, shadow boxing in the dark. Then you came and caused a spark that's so full on fire now. I never made love by lantern shine. I never saw rainbows in my wine. But now that your lips are burning mine, I'm beginning to see the light. play with me. I don't get to do this for my job. Just saying.
No, it's in hell.
I don't know.
I think it's.
You're correct.
Okay. I was correct the second time. Wrong the first time. of Scott.
There you go.
We'll turn it down.
Anybody who thought that was a little loud will be grateful to the bartender at Hermanos, who is the one who always, in our minds, tells us to turn
To turn it down.
He lives on our shoulders.
So true. It's such a nice one.
Right, yeah.
You all set? 2, 3, oh.
When you're weary First Church. If this is your first time with us, welcome. We're so excited to have you here. As you can tell, we're very low-key in the service. So we invite you to do as the Spirit moves you, to laugh, to cry, to dance, whatever you need to do is fine. Should you need them, there's a restroom right through this door to the left, or also back out into the lobby. And this service is a gift to you, and so we invite you, if you are so moved and willing, to pass it on. There's a basket by the door. And then where are we? We're in September, so this will go towards the Neighbors in Need UCC offering. You can find more about it at ucc.org. There's 5 different offerings that the United Church of Christ takes every year, and Neighbors in Need is one of them. Would you like to introduce the theme, or do you want me to do that?
Yeah, you can do it. But first,
Well rehearsed.
as always.
Tim had a loss for words.
Yeah.
I just want to say this is the last time that there will be a conflict between the Patriots game and the service. But in October and November and December, I checked the schedule. On the days of Jazz Sanctuary, the Patriots do not play at 1 o'clock. So if you're in any kind of conflict today, you needn't be in the future. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Tim. So our theme today is the Lord's Prayer, or we call it the Jazz of the Open Heart.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, this is one of those services that I went to Tim and I said, hey, guess what? There's this awesome person as a member of our congregation who gave me a skit that I think we should surround the service around. And he goes, okay. So anyway, so that's why we decided to do the Lord's Prayer. And the more I thought about it, the more I thought, yeah, this is an important one. We talked about this morning in our morning worship, the words from Romans 14, where Paul talks about the fact that we shouldn't get in each other's way around details about how we practice our faith. And there's still a conversation out there in the Christian world about, is it debts, is it sins, is it trespasses, does it really matter? Is it mother, is it father, is it creator? So we wanted to have a chance to talk about that together and why that makes a difference to each and every one of us. So, anything else you want?
No, I think we're going to be talking about it as we get into it.
Yes, and I want to thank our guest performer and speaker today, Reverend.
Not musical guest.
No, I would have made a difference. We also have those separately. Our speaking guest is Reverend Pastor Carlos, who will be coming up later in the service. So, and also, you'll notice that there's an additional piece to the service. For the first time, drum roll please. In Jazz Sanctuary, we are having new member join the church. We practiced that too. So we're so happy to have Jean Donahue join First Congregational Church here in Concord, and we actually had Irene Park join this morning, so we've had a whole new member Sunday. So we'll be having that as a part of our worship as well. So at this time, I'd like you to join with me in our unison opening prayer by Ophelia Zepeda. And let us say together, before we do anything else, we open our voices to a greater being. We say we are grateful for being allowed to be here in this wonder. And like flooding water, this request for gifts begin. We ask for strength. We ask for health. We ask for goodness. Finally, we feel the need to justify our requests. We begin again. We ask for strength to complete the things we have started to do with our lives. We ask for health so that we may walk with a sturdy step, with good breath and clean light in our eyes. We ask for goodness so that we may have open minds, open hearts. We ask for patience to deal with all those who require it and pass it on to those who are impatient. We ask forgiveness so we can forgive those who require it and pass it on to those who are unforgiving. There is peace, there is hope, and it's not so far away. There is peace, there is hope, and it's not so far away. Focus your light within us. Focus your peace through us. Focus your love. Shine, 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 shine. Focus your light within us. Focus your peace through us. Focus your love. Shine, 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 night within us. Focus your peace through us. Focus your love. Shine, shine, shine. There is peace, there is hope, and it's not so far away. There is peace, there is hope, and it's not so far away. Hey, Carol. Oh, never mind. Diana's got it. I just realized we never lit the candle.
No time like the present.
Indeed.
Beginning to see.
We're just
light.
beginning. Just beginning.
It's a gradual process.
No, I get that. If you didn't die, I would.
So this is a table of welcome, and all are free to come and to eat. As we gather at this table and to worship, we remember these words of our brother Jesus. I am the bread of life. Whoever comes to me shall not hunger. Whoever believes in me shall never thirst.
We come to this table hungry and thirsty, seeking to be satisfied. As we gather at this table, we remember these words of our brother Jesus. Come to me, all that are weary and all that are carrying heavy burdens, and I will give you rest.
We come to this table weary and burdened, seeking rest. As we gather at this table, we remember that Jesus comes to us in those who are strangers to us, in those who are hungry, in those who are thirsty, and in those who are needing warmth.
We come to this table as strangers in a strange land. We ask with humble confidence that you welcome us into your family, O God.
We ask you to pray the prayer of adoration with us.
Living
God, you are present in our midst, and we praise you. You are tearing down walls of alienation and exclusion. For this we praise you because, in Jesus, you have shown us a way of hospitality, simplicity, prayer, peacemaking, and resistance. Because your Spirit makes a new path for us, as we struggle to live in the shadow of doubt and fear. Weak as we are, you fill us with hope. Lover of our souls, you give us joy, and we praise you. Amen. So we take joy in this meal, where we give our love and our attention to one another, and we remember too that Jesus is here with us. So in the midst of this sacred meal, we set 3 symbols to remind us of Jesus' promises to us.
A candle to remind us that Jesus poured out his Holy Spirit upon us, giving us new life, new power, and new hope. We, filled with his Spirit, bring the presence of God into a broken world.
And we bring bread, for Jesus is the bread of life. He nourishes us, and we put our trust in him.
Grapes, a reminder of his struggle for justice and peace. A reminder of his suffering at the hands of the Roman Empire. He suffers still when the oppressed suffer injury at the hands of the powerful.
Jesus is with us in this agape feast. Let us open our hearts to God and to one another. As we share this feast, we invite you to focus on serving one another and giving everybody else the privilege to do that. So let the other person hold the plate completely for you. Don't touch it. Don't pretend to hold. Just let them hold it as you select the bread and the grapes that you would like to eat. And then as you pass it to the next person, let them hold the plate for you, or hold it for them so they can just take their bread and grapes. All things are now ready. Come, let us share in the feast of love. We'll give you just a second. So for the next song, I just want to point out that the refrain, you'll notice, is repeated twice. So all the words that are printed there at the bottom of that page in your bulletin will sing twice after each verse, and there are 3 verses. together our new member ritual. First Congregational is a church that seeks to create a welcoming and safe community for spiritual exploration and faith development, in order that all who gather might go back into the world to bring love and light to all the broken and dark places around us. To that end, Jazz Sanctuary First Church, third Sunday, is a ministry of hospitality and grace that gathers and welcomes all wherever you are on life's journey. We are thus delighted to welcome Jean into membership here in our community at First Congregational Church through Jazz Sanctuary. And now I ask you one simple question. Do you promise your presence, participation, joy and concern, openness and connection with this community of faith? And will you continue to open your heart to the love and light we seek to spread into the world? If so, please say, I do promise, with the help of God and this
wonderful
community. And to all of you, do you who are members of First Congregational Church promise your support to Jean as she joins our community? Please join together with me. Jean, we enthusiastically welcome you to membership in our community, and we vow to support you as you bring your presence, participation, joy and concern, openness and connection to our ongoing endeavors to create community and bring light and love into the world. Congratulations and welcome. I'd like to invite any members of the church to come forward and shake Jean's hand as a greeting in Christian love, yes. Or anybody else for that matter. Come on up.
Because it'll be downhill after that.
Thank you, everyone. So we've shifted from doing an anthem of the Lord's Prayer to doing thank you to Faith, Clark, and interpretive dance. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory. Amen. Amen. Thank you.
This is going to be exciting.
Yeah, we're excited about this.
I'm doing Matthew.
Yes,
Sorry, okay.
that's okay.
So you can follow along and see how it is. Pray
When
then
you pray,
like this.
say,
Our Father, who art in heaven,
hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come.
Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven.
Give us
this
each
day
our daily bread,
and forgive us our
sins,
debts,
as
as
we
we
ourselves
also forgive our debtors.
everyone who is indebted to us.
and lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For if you forgive men their trespasses, your heavenly Father will also forgive you. But if you do not forgive men their trespasses, neither will your Father forgive your trespasses. I heartily recommend this little book to you. It was published in 1990. I got it soon thereafter, and I read through it about every few years again. It's called Prayers of the Cosmos, Meditations on the Aramaic Words of Jesus. And this is a scholar who has reconstructed the possible or probable Aramaic in which Jesus' teachings were done, and has done the Lord's Prayer and also the Beatitudes in this book. And since he's updated his translation with more scholarship, and that updated version is often the one that we use in worship here for Jazz Sanctuary. So before we begin, I just want to give you the first line in Aramaic a couple of times, and then have you repeat after me sort of in a chant-like way. This is the line for that which is often translated, Our Father which art in heaven. And it is, Abun Boashmaya. Abun de 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 Boashmaya.
O birther, Father, Mother of the cosmos, focus your light within us, make it useful. Create your reign of unity now through our fiery hearts and willing hands. Help us love beyond our ideals and sprout acts of compassion for all creatures. Animate the earth within us. We then feel the wisdom underneath, supporting all. Untangle the knots within so that we can mend our hearts' simple ties to each other. Don't let surface things delude us, but free us from what holds us back from our true purpose. Out of you, the astonishing fire, returning light and sound to the cosmos. Amen.
This is a hymn taken from the New Century hymnal that we don't sing very often, but it is out of the Chinese tradition, and it is based on the spirit of the Lord's Prayer. A beautiful, simple melody. In C.
Then breaks the dawn, comes the eastern sun, over all the lake and lawn.
So just start that again. That was the fault of the one player who did not translate the D. So you are in C and I'm in D. But it was a very kind of modern short way.
That was cool. Yeah.
Schoenberg does sometimes. Once again, here we go.
Golden breaks the dawn, comes the eastern sun, over lake and lawn. New day has begun. cool?
From there, here.
Come on. Come on now.
Come on down.
No, 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 no.
We did not list you as a vocalist.
We did not.
Thank God.
I heard Carlos say.
Last night as I was dreaming, as I was sleeping, I dreamt a marvelous illusion. That a spring was breaking out in my heart. I said, "Along which secret aqueduct are you coming to me, O water, water of new life, that I have never drunk?" Last night as I was sleeping, I dreamt a marvelous thing. That I had a beehive here, inside my heart, and the golden bees were making white combs and sweet honey from my old failures. Last night as I was sleeping, I dreamt a marvelous illusion. That a fiery sun was giving light inside my heart. It was fiery because I felt warmth as from a hearth, and sun because it gave light and brought tears to my eyes. Last night as I slept, I had a marvelous illusion. That it was God I had here inside my heart. God, is my soul asleep? Have those beehives who labored by night stopped? And the water wheel of thought, is it dry? The cup's empty, wheeling out carrying only shadows. No, my soul is not asleep. My soul is not asleep. It neither sleeps nor dreams, but watches, its clear eyes open, far off things, and listens at the shores of the great silence. It listens at the shores of the great silence.
Our Father, which art in heaven.
Yes,
Look, don't interrupt me, I'm praying.
but you called me.
Called you? I didn't call you, I'm praying. Our Father, which art in heaven.
There, you did it again.
Then what?
You called me. You said, "Our Father which art in heaven." Well, here I am. So, what's on your mind?
But I didn't mean anything by it. What? I was just, I was just saying my prayers for the day. I always say the Lord's Prayer. It kind of makes me feel good, like a duty done. Check.
All right. Go on then.
Hallowed be thy name.
Hold it for a minute. What do you mean by that?
What?
You know, hallowed be thy name.
Oh, well, it means, I don't know what it means. How should I know? It's just part of the prayer. By the way, what does it mean?
It means to honor me. It means acknowledge my holiness.
Well, hey, that makes sense. I never thought much about hallowed before. All right, now, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven.
Do you really mean that?
Sure, why not?
So what are you going to do about it?
I'm sorry, what? Doing?
Yes.
Am I supposed to be doing something about that? I just think it would be nice if you had control over here things on earth like you do in heaven.
So you seem to think I have control of you.
Well, I go to church.
That's not really what I asked. What about those little lies that you like to tell? And how about the way you spend all that money on yourself? And those attitudes right there? Those attitudes you have about those people?
Stop picking on me. I am no different than all the other people who go to church.
will to be done. If that's going to happen, it will have to begin with you.
All right. I guess I do prefer my will to yours. Now that you mention it, I can see some other things that don't go along with your will.
I can see them too.
I haven't thought about it very much, but you know what? You know what? I really would like to make some changes. I really would like to free myself of all the stuff that hangs me up.
Great.
So
Now we're really going to get
I
some.
need to go move
Well,
on.
we need to work together.
Look, Lord, I really need to finish up here. This is taking a lot longer than it usually does. Give us thy daily bread, and forgive us our sins and...
Daily bread. Wait a minute.
What?
Do you really mean that? Daily bread? Do you know what I mean by that?
That we need to eat every day? That I want you to
Daily
feed?
bread. Take only what you need. You know, in Latin America, they paraphrase it by saying, "You, God, are giving us our daily bread in the song of the bird and the miracle of the corn." If you're so busy worrying about filling up everything, are you experiencing the feeding that I give you every day?
Hey, wait a minute. Just wait a minute. What is this, criticize me day? Here I was doing my religious duty, and all of a sudden you break in and you remind me of all of my shortcomings.
Hey, prayer is a dangerous thing.
You're telling me that?
You could wind up a changed person. Who knows? And that's really what I'm trying to get across to you. You called me, and here I am. It's too late to stop now. Go on, keep on praying. I'm interested to hear the next part of your prayer. Go on.
I'm scared to.
Scared of what?
I know what you'll say.
I bet you do. Try me anyway.
Forgive us our debts, and we forgive our debtors.
And what about Tom?
I knew it! I knew you were going to bring him up. Why, Lord, come on, he's told lies about me. He's cheated me. He goes around thinking he's better than everybody else, but he's really hurt me. He needs to know the harm that he's done.
And what about your prayer?
I believe there's an exception to every prayer, and he's it.
Well, I'll give you this. You're honest at least. But it must be really rough carrying around all that bitterness. I mean, isn't it tiring?
Yes, it is. But I know I'll feel better as soon as he's exposed for the person he really is, and someone needs to teach him a lesson.
Believe me, you won't feel any better. Matter of fact, you'll feel worse. Revenge isn't sweet. Think of how troubled you already are. I can change that. Feel better.
You can. Okay, how?
Forgive Tom. I would like you to forgive Tom. Then all that bitterness that you're carrying around, it'll be Tom's problem, not yours. You may lose the argument, but you will be free in your heart.
Lord, I can't forgive Tom. Look at what he's done to lots of people, not just me.
And what if I felt that way about you?
You're right. You always are. And the truth is that I want to be good with you more than I want to be right. All right. Okay, I forgive him. Would you help me to find the right way for his life, Lord? I mean, he's probably more miserable than I am, come to think of it. Anybody who goes around doing the things he does can't be satisfied with their life, so some way, somehow, Lord, can you show him the right way? Can you just release him from all this bitterness?
It's a great start. How do you feel now that you've released yourself from all of that resentment?
Not bad. Not bad at all. In fact, it feels great. Maybe I won't go to bed angry tonight. Maybe I won't be so weary tomorrow because I'll have rested peacefully instead of trying to sleep with my bitterness.
I'm so happy for you, really. Now, I would like you to finish your prayer. Go on.
Okay. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil.
And you better believe that I will.
Oh,
But I need you to try to stay away from those places when you're leading yourself into temptation.
What do you mean by that?
I think you know some of those so-called friends of yours, they start getting at you. You know, you're catching their attitudes. I've noticed that a time or two. And a lot of your ideas on how you can fix the problems of the world, they're like using evil to fight evil. That never works. Think about it. And then that little idea that the evil is in another person but not in you, all have the same DNA, all have the same potential. What do you think you're playing with? Take a closer look at yourself if you want to be delivered from evil.
I don't know what you mean.
Sure you do. You like to think that the problems you are having is someone else's fault. The boss doesn't understand you. The kids don't appreciate all that you've done for them. The government is caving in to special interest groups. You get up on your high horse every now and then, and it keeps you from seeing how you're letting evil into your own heart.
I see what you mean, Lord. And I'm sorry, I really am. Up until now, I thought that if I just prayed the Lord's Prayer every day, that what I actually did or thought wouldn't actually be such a big deal. You know, kind of like wiping the slate.
Yeah, go ahead and finish your prayer.
For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. Amen.
So, you know what would give me glory? What would really make me happy?
No, but I'd like to know. I'd like to please you. I can see that I haven't been paying attention to what I've been praying, and now that we've actually talked, that is so weird.
Yeah.
I can see how great it would be to be one of your followers.
You just answered my question.
I did?
Yes. The thing that brings me glory, that brings me joy, is for people to truly love me. And I want to share my way of life with you and with all my children. Just look at what's happened between us already. Come on. Now that we've cleared the air, there's no telling what you and I could do together.
Okay, Lord. Let's see what we can make of me, okay?
Oh, yes. Let's see.
Scene.
Be part of the conversation.
Yeah. She just said come and sit down. That's all.
Yeah, come on, sit down. Take a load up. Take a load up, Sally. Come on over.
I'm not sitting.
Okay. Okay. Can't make it, no. So, the Lord's Prayer. We would love to have a conversation about what it means to each of you, and sort of kind of the history that you've had with the Lord's Prayer, and why you say the words that you say, and to have a conversation about some of the other words and practices that people use. And we asked Carlos to come and share what the Lord's Prayer has meant to him over the years, and kind of the words that he likes to use, depending.
So the Lord's Prayer is one of those things that gets under your skin. How many of you have learned the Lord's Prayer in church school? Do you even remember a time before you knew the Lord's Prayer? Probably not. It's probably something that you've heard over and over again your entire life. And I think that's what Jesus meant to offer us, was a simple prayer that could stay with us, could get under us, and could be a part of us without even thinking about it. And I believe that it's really a guideline for how God wants us to live, much like the skit. It's a blueprint. Honor God, respect one another, only worry about what you need to worry about today. Forgive one another, forgive, and then leave yourself open for forgiveness. And to remember the foundation. I grew up saying trespasses, then ended up in a church that said debtors, and then ended up in a church that said sins. So I never know what's going to happen or what's going to fall out of my mouth at that point in the prayer.
Yes, well, and I know at least for myself, growing up in German Reform and evangelical portion of the United Church of Christ, it was debts. And then the 90s came along, and the New Century Hymnal came along, and suddenly my father goes, okay, we're going to say sins, and for those who sin against us, and I went, what? I think I was a teenager at that point, you know, had memorized it by heart. And then after seminary, during seminary, people started saying, yeah, that whole Our Father thing, I'm not so kosher with my father, so I think I'm going to say mother. Or I'm not so kosher with my mother, so I'm going to say creator. So.
For me, that part is when Jesus offers the prayer, he's offering it as an intimate relationship that he has with God. And it's Abba, it's Daddy. And so right from the beginning, Jesus is inviting us into an intimate relationship with the Holy. And I think it's less about what we call God and more important about that we call God something other than other. You know, Jesus invites us into a deep personal relationship. And so I take that as an invitation. Whatever is deeply personal about my relationship with God is where I need to found my prayer. I need the foundation of my prayer.
And for somebody who's used debts, trespasses, and sins, what do those differences mean to you? Or how do you see the difference between them?
I thought it was a conversation.
It is. We have to introduce you first, and then we'll bring everybody else in.
In seminary, they taught us that it was probably, the professor I had taught us that it was probably really about debts, and it was really about a monetary releasing of debt, a forgiveness of what is owed monetarily, and that we are called to not hold each other in a place of injustice monetarily, that to release each other from those heavy burdens. The Matthew passage from this morning was all about the good master and the evil master. And trespasses is whenever anybody has sort of wronged me, and sins is a little harder for me to... I think it's a harder concept for us to talk about.
Sins. It's sort of a broader space. Yeah. Yeah. So we would like to open it up to everybody else. And you know, your history of the Lord's Prayer, or where it touches you, or where you stumble on it, or just any.
It's probably where I stumble. It's a memory of the past. We had a Sunday school teacher here at Westgate First Church. He was an ex-tackle on a pro football team.
Okay.
And he taught Sunday school. And his name was Edward France. And he would make sure that everybody in Sunday school memorized the Ten Commandments and the Lord's Prayer. That was the ultimate. I used to go back with a lot of thoughts about that. This was the first thing that came to my mind when I talked to him, was that experience with Ed, making sure that those children knew the Lord's Prayer.
Yeah, memorize.
That you could grab any one of them at any time and they could...
Lord's Prayer.
Yes.
And the beauty of that is, if I may,
Please.
is that if they find themselves in a hospital waiting room and they have no words, it can be a word that comes out without them even thinking about it. And oftentimes when we are in crisis and our own words and thoughts are harder to formulate, having words that are so familiar and so comforting can bring us through some wonderful places. And so for me, I mean, the fact that we all can't remember a time we didn't know the Lord's Prayer, that says something.
Mm-hmm. I think it's similar to Psalm 23 for that same reason. Yeah.
So I learned the Lord's Prayer in Spanish, and then I left place I lived in Western nation, in the United States, I learned English. And then one day we were in Florida, I was asked to say the Lord's Prayer in Spanish, so I said the one I learned when I was a little girl, and it was, forgive our debts as we forgive our debtors. And my colleagues, my fellow Spanish teachers, said, we don't say that anymore. And what I thoroughly embarrassed is that, why we change that is, forgive our offenses as we forgive those who offend us.
Interesting.
And so, it's very hard for me when I'm praying with my family, we say the Lord's Prayer, and everybody says it automatically, to say, I always go to forgive our debts as we forgive our debtors. And they always look at me like, what is up with you? And then they all say, there's no more debts, there's offenses. Okay, all right, all right. So it's interesting conversation about the meaning of debt and debtors. It is all around monetary. And one said that there's no more debts. I mean, get that, you know. And they kind of laugh at me because I didn't know what John Paul, you know, and the 23rd had done. I just did not know those changes. And so it was really interesting to me. And then in the Protestant church have gone, his trespasses or sins or, so I always like, I have to read it because I don't know which one it means. So, but it is the prayer that when I'm walking down the street and I feel the need to pray, it is the prayer that I begin immediately, Our Father. It's just the prayer that I say at all times. And by the way, that poem is one of my favorite poems. Spanish is just a stunning poem.
Yeah. Other reflections? Yeah.
I guess I would like to, when we say the Lord's Prayer, to say it more slowly, and maybe to stop after every phrase so that you can digest what you have just said.
Sure.
You know, and that doesn't usually happen. It's usually pretty fast.
Not only fast, but that sense that we're trying to keep pace with each other.
Right.
I think as we often do in gathered worship, it's like, okay, who's pausing when? Which comma's coming next? And when do I breathe? And so, yes, there isn't really necessarily space within each phrase to reflect. That's interesting.
I mean, to maybe have God say yes.
Right? Yeah, exactly. Our Father, yes. Whoa. Okay. Maybe that's why we say it so fast.
Maybe.
Yeah, we're afraid God might answer.
Yeah, exactly.
The lines are busy.
So, like, yeah, sorry, God, I gotta. Yeah.
The prayer also begins with a call of action for us. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Well, if we want that to happen, we need to be agents for that. If we take seriously our Christian faith, then we have to engage in being agents for the kingdom of God. We have to be peacemakers and builders and repairers of the street. And we can't just say, okay, God, we want you to take care of it. And really, I think that's what we sometimes mean, because really, wouldn't it be much easier if God took care of it? But I think we've been waiting around, 8,000 years or so for God to take care of it. And it's us. We're called to be partners with God in bringing the kingdom here, not waiting for it to happen. And I think we forget that from time to time.
Yeah, one of the things that I had been sort of neutral on the prayer for a number of years, and because for me, because it had been so ubiquitous. But this book really opened up, by going into the Aramaic and then coming back out from it, opened up the idea that Jesus probably had that we and all things and all light through our open hearts are all in unity already, and that the disconnect between us and what's not of God and God's realm is a false disconnect, and that saying the prayer is meant to reunite us with the way things really are, and that his work with the Aramaic just brought me right back into that. That we're not meant to be apart from God and God's way of being in the world. It's in us. We just have to sort of unlock the heart so that it happens more often.
And I think interesting, at least for me, the Aramaic, knowing that Aramaic was a rough cut language. It's like Cockney in English. It was a language of the people. It was down and dirty. And that for me is also really important, along with the intimacy of Abba, Daddy. Because I think with the English translations and how it becomes this very regal, royal, Our Father, which art in heaven. But really, it was the prayer of the people, of the paupers. It was, for everybody, and it wasn't royal or regal. It was, please, Daddy, come and help us do the things that we're capable of doing.
And at a time when people relied on the priests and the rabbis to offer the prayers, for Jesus to say, here is a prayer for you, to keep it simple, in their language, here is a prayer, and you can pray at any time. You don't need someone else to offer this on your behalf. You can do this. It's very empowering, which is what makes Jesus and anything he offers dangerous, when you empower the people. And then you're empowering them to be agents for the kingdom of God. And then you're empowering them to release one another from indebtedness. And then you're empowering them to work for justice and the glory of God. It's a dangerous prayer. We don't think about it very often.
No. Yeah. If we stop and think about it, as we say it, we start to clue into how dangerous it is. Other reflections? Yeah.
Well, I remember when the prayer was changed from the churches to say sin, and there was a little rumbling.
A little?
Because I think being, thinking about forgive us our sins is really more difficult for people. That is acknowledging that we are sinful. So that has always been more meaningful to me, really, than the others. The others I feel I could handle more easily than the sinner.
You could understand, sorry.
No, so it sounds like it makes you stop and think more than perhaps debts or trespasses.
Yes.
I think it's easy for us to think about the ways we're indebted to someone, or the ways that we may have sort of trespassed, crossed a boundary. But when you think about, I have sinned against you, and I grew up Episcopalian, so every Sunday, forgive us the ways we have sinned against you in thought, word, and deed. And when we think about the ways of, it brings the offense to a deeper level. It's not just, I crossed a line. It's I've offended, I've hurt, I've caused harm.
Yeah. Other reflections? Yeah.
I just have a story that just stays in my heart. My grandson, one of them, was going to be baptized, and he was, 4 or 5 years old at the time. And they decided, the pastor who was going to do it said, I think you should do something, as part of your baptism. How about if you learn the Lord's Prayer? Well, at the same time, Gregory was into Power Rangers, and, he was one of the good guys. So he said the prayer perfectly. He stood like this and said the prayer. And he got to the part, for thine is the kingdom and the power. The whole church, actually they were crying, but it was just, gave a whole new meaning to the prayer.
Yeah. Other stories or reflections?
I've got a
Please.
Lord's Prayer story. It's kind of interesting, thinking about it, and I really hadn't thought about it until we've had this conversation. I grew up in New York City and went to a large elementary school. There were 6 grades, and it seemed like there were just thousands of kids. Every month, there was an assembly for each grade, and on those days you had to wear a white shirt and a tie. And the assembly would begin with the Pledge of Allegiance, and then the singing of the national anthem that nobody could sing. And then it was followed with the Lord's Prayer, and then it was followed with the 23rd Psalm. Now, I can tell you that I knew the Lord's Prayer before I knew what the Lord's Prayer was. And I thought that God's name was Harold.
Harold B90s!
I think it's kind of interesting. Can you imagine that happening today?
Oh God, yeah, no. It's not Abba, it's Harold. Oh, Harold. Well, speaking of, how it's infiltrated the society, and it is a rebellious prayer, so this still makes me happy. There is a video game, I think it's on its 7th rendition, called Civilization. And Civilization is a game all about becoming the conquering civilization. You can play as the Romans, you can play as the Mayans, you can play as the Chinese, you can play as anybody you want. The Egyptians. But at the beginning of the game, the theme title song as you open the game is a song called Baba Yetu. It's the Lord's Prayer in South African. And it's the most stirring, I invite you to look it up. Christopher Tin is the, thank you, of the song itself. But yeah, it's stunning, and it is not lost on me that this prayer has become this powerful movement, even in a video game where most of the people who are playing it have no idea that it's the Lord's Prayer that they're listening to.
What was it again? What was it?
Baba Yetu, Babayetu. Baba Yetu.
Everybody pull out your phone and start.
Go ahead, do it. Do it now. Yeah, it's awesome.
I think there still is power that remains in the Lord's Prayer because it has sunk into so many places in our world that it is still an opportunity for us to minister with the unchurched. Because even some folks who are unchurched will know either the whole Lord's Prayer or elements of it. And so even for folks for whom faith is not yet something important to them, the Lord's Prayer will be familiar. It will not be totally scary territory for them. So it's a great opportunity for us to begin to engage people who are still looking for language to try to puzzle out what this journey means here on this world.
Amen. Amen. Any others? All right. Well, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it. Walking away from the microphone for the singing. Okay. So our prayers for the community is a new words written to Amazing Grace. These were written just recently by Carolyn Winfrey Gillette in response to both hurricanes here in the United States as well as the devastating flooding in Nepal, India, and Bangladesh. So I invite you to pray as you sing and sing as you pray.
Play it through once and I'll
Thank you. Lord's Prayer from the translated Greek. Please use the words that speak to you. And I'm going to invite us to slow it way down and say one phrase at a time together. So let us begin. Our Creator, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever and ever. So we invite you to take these words that have been imprinted on your heart probably since you were kids, and perhaps reflect on them anew, and maybe share them anew with the people in your life. For they are a blessing, and they are a reminder that we are powerful with God as God's hands in the world. We have the ability to make change for love and for peace and for justice. So I send you out with that which you already know, that you are blessed to be a blessing. Amen. Our closing music, yes, this 4G have been requested by our newest member.
This is the 12
How about losing
E. Do you want to count it? I played it a while ago with Eli.
Yeah. You might slip, you might slide, you might stumble and fall by the roadside. Don't ever let nobody drag your spirit down. Remember you're walking up to heaven. Don't let nobody turn you down. Walk with the rich, walk with the poor. Learn from everyone what life is for. And don't let nobody drag your spirit down. Remember you're walking up to heaven. Don't let with one another and eat some cake. We have lots of cake.